Welcome on in, everyone. We are the Not From Philly podcast. I'm Adam from Wales with my partners, Justin from Tennessee and Drew from Westchester. Boys, it's been a few weeks since we got together over the Christmas break and stuff, so a lot's happened with the Eagles and some things coming out now for the Phillies and stuff, whether we sign Bo Boucher and whether Real Muto comes back. So there's all that stuff to come in the next few weeks. So we'll do a Phillies pod soon. But yeah, it's been a crazy few weeks. The playoffs are here. Wildcard Weekend is upon us. It's going to be crazy. Feeling good, nervous, excited. I'm sure you two are as well. So we'll get into it. Boys, how you both doing? And are you excited about the weekend?
Oh, I'm fired up, focused, and prepared now, man. It seems like with that resting the starters last week and everything, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get this thing going. I'm ready to go back to back, belts to ass, kicking crack
Yeah.
shit and taking names, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I think this is always one of the best sports weekends of the year. I think the only thing that might make it better is if you have, like we did in 2022, if you have the one seed and then you're just scouting and watching all
Yeah.
the other games. But I think it's a super exciting weekend when your teams play in. Like I feel like when you have a good team, like when you kind of know you're going to make the playoffs, I feel like a big thing second half of the season that starts like going through your head is like, okay, like who's that first opponent going to be? Who's it going to be? And I feel
Yeah.
like for a while we thought, oh, maybe Packers, or maybe even like back in like November, early December, like the Lions and the Niners are just kind of like there the whole time. And now it's here, and it's a mix of excitement and nerves and everything all in one. But no, I'm super pumped. I'm glad we have an extra day, but I also need the game to just get here.
Same
Yeah,
here.
I
If that
know.
makes
I know.
sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, definitely. And for me, I gotta wait till 9:30 tomorrow night for kickoff, so it's even a little bit later of a waiting time for me. But yeah, it is crazy how, like, the 49ers have sort of, we haven't really took notice of them this year because Brock Purdy's sort of been banged up and Mac Jones filled in, and he did an okay job getting them there, and then Brock Purdy came back at the end and got them over the hump to get into the playoffs. And then you look at the number one seed with the Seattle Seahawks. You don't really like take a much notice of them this year. I don't know what their schedule was like. It seemed, they only lost 3 games, so I wouldn't say they had like a challenging schedule. To me, it feels like they've sort of gone through what we did in 2022. It's like you play the teams that you have to play, and it turned out that our
Yeah.
schedule was easier in 2022 than maybe we would have thought. And then we had a fantastic run. It seems like they've had a similar sort of journey this year.
Yeah.
So we see how that plays out. But let's get into the schedule of Wildcard Weekend. Obviously, we know we are playing the 49ers tomorrow, so we'll get into that in a few minutes. But obviously, Saturday tonight, we got the Rams going to the Panthers. And then the later game is obviously the Packers going to the Bears, which could be a snow game.
Yeah.
So what are you guys initial thoughts, sort of early predictions, but maybe what things that could possibly transpire in the games? We know the Packers and the Bears is going to be a snow game, possibly. There's talk of all that snow hanging around over Chicago. So, the Eagles possibly might have to go there next week. So what do you guys feel? The Rams and the Panthers is like an intriguing game for me because the Panthers beat the Rams a couple of weeks ago. So it's an interest. I wonder, can they do it again? Can they upset the Rams because it's at home for the Panthers, or is it just they've won a bad division, which they have. Ultimately, it was a bad division. It always has been a bad division. So what do you guys feel about the Rams and the Panthers? Just do you want to lead us off?
Yeah. With the Rams and the Panthers, I think that game a couple of weeks ago when the Panthers upset them, it was kind of rainy and ugly and not prime conditions and stuff like that. It's setting up
Yeah,
like that again. It's been raining here for the last 2 days, like pouring piss out of a boot, and
we got
it's
ice
it's
and
heading
snow over here.
it's heading that way. So I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, in an ideal world, the Panthers can do what they done a couple of weeks ago, but they're going to need the same help they got a couple of weeks ago, which is Stafford turning it over. was it 3 times, Drew, or something? I know he had a
I
think
want to
so.
say he threw 3 interceptions. I'll look it up. He
Yeah,
played a pretty
and
bad, was probably one of his worst games of the
one
season.
one was a pick six, and he may have had a fumble as well, but not prime ideal conditions. But the Rams, looking at them on paper, are a much better team than the Panthers. And like I said, it,
Yeah,
it took 3-4 turnovers by Stafford for the Panthers to do it. I believe one of them, like I said, was a pick six. I I've seen the pundits on NFL Network and stuff. A couple of them kind of maybe seeing the Panthers pulling the upset. I don't. I think the Rams go in there and win. I think they win by 10 or more, to be honest with you. But it might be intriguing early on, but I think the Rams pull away and win by 10 or more at the end.
I think the Panthers are going to do it again. See, I got this weird feeling. I might be like wishful thinking, but I just got this feeling. Bryce Young is a lot better this year. I think. So yeah, but like you said, Just it's all on if Matthew Stafford has another bad game and what Devontae Adams looks like coming back from his
Yeah.
hamstring little nick up. So what's your thoughts on it, Drew? How do you think this game could go?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of fall in the middle of you guys. My gut says the Rams win the game, but I know we're not. I know we're not a betting podcast, but if we were, I love the Panthers to cover that 10.5 point spread. Like I typically won't bet on NFC playoff games just because you have certain rooting interests with the Eagles and it
Yeah.
messes with your head a little bit. I just feel like that's a lot. I just feel like that's a lot of points for a for a spread in a playoff game. Like I don't. And it makes me think a little bit of back in like 2010 with the Marshawn Lynch run where they were big underdogs at home to the Saints and they knocked him out. So my gut says the Rams win a close game, but I'll say this. And look, I know the Eagles have to take care of their own business, but let's just be honest. If the Panthers win that game, I think all of like Eagles Twitter, Eagles Nation is rooting like heck for the Packers tonight in the second game because that could set up Eagles Panthers at the Link next weekend, which would be hell of a matchup on paper for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. That would be insane. And whether that falls our way again this year, I probably, like we said, we're not a betting podcast, but if we did have to bet, it's probably not going to go that way. Where obviously the Lions, the Commanders helped us out last year by defeating the Lions, and we got the NFC Championship at home. So but I don't quite think it could go that way this year. You never know. That, like we say, playoff football is insane. It's so really, it is really unpredictable. To a certain level. But so the Packers and the Bears. My initial gut, I got another. I don't know. The Packers are so injured. Obviously, the Micah Parsons injury, that is a massive blow. Jordan Love is banged up. He's playing through stuff. He's not playing great either. So I'm probably going to go with the Bears for this one. But then the snow, if the snow goes there like it's meant to and it causes a problem, what does Caleb Williams really look like, playing in a snow game like that in that cold? I know he's been in Chicago for like 2 years now, but I mean, is he really has he adapted that much to playing in that? Because they haven't really had it that bad. So we see. So what do you think, Just with the Packers and the Bears?
I think, aren't the Packers like a 1.5 favorite, Drew? Even though the Bears are at home?
I think the line swung a couple times, but I think that's correct.
Okay, yeah. So this is the one where I see the upset. Bears are young. I know they won the division and all that. Young team, gonna be not ideal conditions, but I know the Bears can run the ball really well. But if Josh Jacobs can be healthy enough, and I know the Packers have struggled. They've got a lot of injuries, but they're proven in the playoffs. They've been tested in the playoffs. They upset the Cowboys a couple of years ago when the Cowboys weren't they a 2 seed or something like that when Bryce
that was a
went in there?
7-2 matchup. Yeah. Glorious game. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, just absolutely lit the Cowboys up. I don't see them running away from the Bears like that, but I could see the Packers pulling the upset here because, like I said, Caleb Williams is young, first time playoff experience. But if the Bears do win, I believe it's because Ben Johnson has called a hell of a game.
Yeah, he's the X factor, definitely. How
Yeah.
how you feeling about it? How you feeling about it, Drew?
Yeah, I think this one is the hardest one to pick of the weekend. I've got the Bears. I feel like there's a pattern with this Packers team that it seems like that they might need to address in the offseason with LaFleur, where like they just
Yeah.
seem like every year going into the playoffs that they're just kind of limping, that they're, super like banged up and all, and just kind of like so much attrition throughout the season.
Yeah.
I know some injuries can be like flukish at times, but it almost one of the reasons I was kind of hoping to play them was they kind of reminded me of the Packers team that came into the link last year, where I just thought they were kind of like beat up and had some, like bad vibes and all. I lean towards the Bears now. Typically, for a lot of quarterbacks, like we kind of saw it with Jalen 4 years ago, like sometimes the first playoff game for a quarterback isn't great. So, so that I think is the X factor. If Caleb Williams really struggles, can they overcome that? But yeah, I feel like that could be like a muck it up like dogfight, where my gut says that Bears win like some like 16-14 type of game that sounds boring based on the score, but it's kind of just like fun old school football to watch.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I think could happen, because like you think about it, if the weather is going to play that much of a factor, both teams can run the ball well when the running backs get going. So it could be a case of where the passing the ball is going to be really difficult in that type of weather, if it's wind and the snow, and they both just end up trying to run the ball down each other's throats, and the defenses are going to go through a pasting in that game, and it could be that type of real like gut, old school type football matchup. So that is going to be one to look forward to. I'm really looking forward to that game. So then Sunday, obviously, I'll get to our game last. But we got the Bills going to the Jaguars, and we got the Chargers going to the Patriots. So the Bills and the Jaguars. Now, we beat the Bills the week before last. It was a awful sort of dirty, gut wrenching game to watch. The offense, as we know, they just couldn't get anything going. Once again, the defense played an absolute amazing game once again. Thank God we've got the defense that we have, and they did enough in the end to stop Josh Allen converting that 2-point conversion. They did enough to throw him off his throw, and so the Bills can be got to. The Jaguars, they've been good this year. Trevor Lawrence, I've always like sort of not had much faith in Trevor Lawrence. But he's been a lot better this year. Liam Cohen seems to have really injected something into that team, and they just seem to go out to every game playing with a chip on their shoulder, like they got nothing to lose. And whether that will cost them now tomorrow against the Bills, I don't know. But if we were a betting podcast, I think I'm going to go with the Jags. It's another type of game where if Trevor Lawrence doesn't turn the ball over, I think they can do it. So what do you guys sort of feel? Just obviously we'll go with you first. So how do you feel about the Bills and the Jags?
I really like the Jags, man. They went into Denver a couple of weeks ago and upset the Broncos. Had a shot. If things fell their way, they could have gotten the 1 seed. What's their record, Drew? 13-4, something like that.
Let me look it up. I want to say 12-5, but you're right. That's they did get to 13. Yeah, they got to 13 because they won the division. Yep, 13-4.
That's a huge turnaround from last year. And Liam Cohen, man, hats off. I think that guy's probably, in my opinion, I think he should get Coach of the Year, but it'll probably be Vrabel, in my opinion. But I would vote for Cohen if I had a vote. I just think the Bills are dead in the water right now. The defense is a sieve. We should have exploited that a few weeks ago, but I'll attribute that to the weather again. Horrible weather conditions, but hey, I don't give a shit. We got the win. But yeah, I think the Jags beat them. I think they beat them soundly too. They've got a lot of things going. I've always liked Trevor Lawrence, and the crappy thing for me about Trevor Lawrence is he grew up a Tennessee fan. And our coach at the time was a complete, utter, smacked ass idiot and wouldn't recruit him. And he winds up going to Clemson, winning the Natty and all that stuff. I've always been a Trevor Lawrence fan. I think maybe his career got off to a horrible start because them hiring Urban Meyer at the time, who took that job for nothing more than a paycheck. That guy wasn't interested in coaching a bit more
No.
than a man in the moon. But I think the Jags, if they win this game, I really see the Jags. I think it'll be the Jags and the Pats in the AFC Championship and I think the Jags could be in the Super Bowl this year, guys.
Yeah, they could definitely. What do you think about it, Drew?
Real quick, Justin, was that like Derek Dooley? I was trying to pull like old Tennessee coaches in my head. Did I get it, or was I off by a couple years?
You were off by one. It was Butch Jones. Down here, we like to call him Botch Jones.
Okay, I remember Butch. Okay,
he was Jason and Trav's coach at Cincinnati.
Yes, because Brian Kelly was at Cincinnati, and then he went to Notre Dame, I think, and then all the domino and all. Okay, no, I think we're across the board here. I like the Jags too. I also a Liam Cohen fan. I've always liked. I've typically been a Trevor Lawrence fan too. I don't have much deep analysis on this game other than to say that I think of all the coach quarterback duos and of all the people in the playoffs, I know other people have said this too, so I know it's not like a super original point. I think Josh Allen has the most pressure of anyone. Like your boogeymen aren't there. Like you don't have Mahomes, you don't have Burrow. I know you're on the road, but we're at the point. I think it's like year 8 now. At some point you gotta break through. And he will absolutely, no matter what, be the Bills quarterback next year. But I think a lot of jobs are kind of on the line in that game. I generally like McDermott because he kind of grew up an Eagle, but I think if the Bills lose tomorrow, I think he's potentially gone, and that could be a landing spot for Harbaugh. I like the Jags, and I think it could be a really dark day for the Bills franchise if the Jags win.
Yeah, exactly. Something else I want to piggyback on with what Drew said. I also believe if the Bills go out this game against the Jags, I think Harbaugh could be very much in play in Buffalo, because I don't think anybody will hire a coach until Harbaugh is off the board. That's my opinion. Number 2, how crazy is it that Allen is getting into the playoffs with no Mahomes to face and no Lamar, and he's a daggone 7 seed? Or is he 6 or 7, Drew? I forget. He's a 6.
They're a 6 seed, but I think either way they're basically going to be on the road throughout.
Yeah, they're going to be on the road throughout. How crazy is it that the one time he can finally get into the playoffs without having to face Mahomes or Lamar? He's a 6 seed, man. The daggone soon as this happens, the Pats take off like a rocket again with Vrabel. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you hate to see it for the guy, because if the Eagles ain't going to win it, I'm going to pull for the Bills. I'm sorry, that's how I feel. I'm going to be devastated if the Eagles ain't in it and ain't trying to win it. But I would pull for the Bills if not the Eagles. It's just we've heard it a million times. The fandom is almost winning a lot.
It's just like Josh Allen's luck that, like you said, 1 year he should have had a clear path all the way to the Super Bowl with no excuses, but yet the Broncos have come on fire, the Jags have come on fire, the Patriots have come on fire, and he could have to go up against the Broncos or the Patriots in the championship, and it's like, I don't know if he'd be able to do it. I don't think now that the path is that clear, it's not.
So they could face the Jags in the first round. If they win, would they not go to Denver the second round, Drew? Because I think
if they and the Pats win, I think they'll play at New England round 2.
I'm sorry, I meant the Pats. And then if they win that and the Broncos are in the AFC Championship, they would have to face the 1, 2, and 3 seed just to get to the Super Bowl, guys.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
It is crazy.
He is practically still going up against, not like, they're not comparing the quarterbacks to Mahomes and Burrows, but he's going up. He's probably still have to go up against that level of competition. You know what I mean? The Broncos defense is really good. The Jags defense has been a lot better this year. The Patriots look what they are doing. So he's got a hell of a task on his hands once again, and it's a shame that it's not as clear as I thought it was going to be for him. But he's got to show that he's that Superman. It's Jalen gets, it's all on Jalen this weekend now. You know what I mean? He's going to be expected to run the offense. If Kevin Patullo isn't doing his job, Jalen's going to have to put his Superman cape on, and he's going to be criticized whatever happens this weekend. So it should be the same expected for Josh Allen. So it'd be interesting to see. I never get chance. I only get chance to listen to our Philly sports media podcasts and stuff. So I'd be really interested to see what the talk is going on up in Buffalo with Josh Allen and Sean McDermott, and how they sort of, because they've been let down for a long time now with Josh Allen not being able to get past that final hurdle. So I'd be really interested to know what they are like, radio hosts and podcasters and stuff, how they feel about Josh Allen and McDermott as a duo.
I think a lot of it myself. I agree with Drew. If it doesn't happen this year, it could fall on McDermott, because that one year they had the Chiefs beat. How much time was left on the clock, Drew, when Mahomes made those couple of plays? Like 15 seconds.
Yep. So there was 13 seconds, and there were ways to like strategize around that to kill the time, and they didn't do it. Like that was their year.
No. Yeah, and it didn't happen. That was one of the craziest endings to a game I've ever seen, man. And it didn't happen. So I agree with Drew. If it doesn't happen this year for them, I wouldn't be shocked if they moved on from McDermott.
Yeah. They've done it in Baltimore now, haven't they? To Lamar. They've chose Lamar over so
Harbaugh.
Harbaugh, I can't remember his name, man. Blame neck. Yeah. So, so you think I would remember, because his brother's in the playoffs with the Chargers. So So let's get to the Chargers and the Patriots then. Speaking of the Harbors, I've never saw what people see in Justin Herbert. I know he's got the fundamentals and the arm and what have you. Like, I know Jack foams at the mouth over Justin Herbert at times throughout the year, but he's another one that has had a couple of chances now in the playoffs to get a name for himself in the playoffs, and he doesn't. He chokes. He choked against the Texans last year. That was a horrible game to watch. So how do you think the Chargers are going to go into New England? Because the Patriots have been fantastic this year. How do you guys sort of see that game? I'm going to go with the Patriots. I just can't see the Chargers getting past them in that predicament.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Patriots are going to win. I think the Patriots are just a really, really good team right now. Drake May's taken off. Vrabel has turned that team completely around, man. He's got them playing their ass off. The defense is playing really well. The offense is firing on all cylinders. I just don't see a whole lot in this game. I think the Patriots win, and it's pretty decisive in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the Pats too. Hopefully I'm in a good mood after the Eagles. If I am, this is one where I think I would bet the Patriots. I think 3.5 point spread to cover. I think the Chargers are really beat up along the lines, and I actually kind of like this Patriots team just from like a sentiment standpoint. You got like Mac Hollins there, who was doing some stuff for them early in the year. You got Milton Williams. Like, I was joking with my friend who's a Pats fan a couple weeks ago about like Eagles Patriots. Like, he thanked me after beating the Bills because it won them the division. I said, see you for Eagles Patriots volume 3 in the Super Bowl. Vrabel, they're different styles of coaches, but Vrabel kind of reminds me of a little bit when like Tony Dungy went from the Bucks to the Colts, kind of just having like a really good second act, and hopefully it's not this year. Obviously we want it to be the Eagles, but I definitely see him getting one at some point. To the point Justin made a few minutes ago, it's wild that they basically within 5 years, just after Tom, have just another franchise quarterback now, and that they're just, set up again.
Yep.
Yeah. Really, it has been like, I wasn't expecting Vrabel to like turn it around so fast, because like obviously the last few years since Belichick left, New England have sort of like gone through a head coach turnover quite quickly, and they just can't seem to get themselves going. And he was the right guy for the job this year, and he's got Drake May in a really good place, and the defense is looking good. So So before we get to our game, till we get to the 49ers, before we get into the stats and get into the weeds of everything, the last one on, is it Monday night? I think the Texans at the Steelers.
Yeah.
So this for me, I'm a bit in the middle with this game. I don't quite know how this one is going to go because the Texans have been a little bit better recently, but I wouldn't say overall they've had a great season. CJ Stroud he was another one that was injured off and on throughout the year. Even when he was in, he didn't, he struggled at times. The Steelers have looked better recently. Kenny Gainwell, he's the team MVP.
Yeah.
They
Shout
voted
out.
him the team MVP, so good for Kenny G. So how would you guys think the Texans and the Steelers? I'm guessing the Steelers are the favourites for this game. I'd be surprised if they're not the betting favourites. So I'm going the Steelers.
I think Houston's the favorite, aren't they, Drew?
Is it?
Yeah, I'm looking on my phone now.
Yeah.
Latest odds. We got Texans as 3-point favorites
Yeah.
at the
Wow.
at the moment.
Yeah. Houston's defense is amazing right now, man. Didn't they start out like 3-5 or something like that, Drew? And went on a 9.
Yeah, well, I think they were. I think they were 0-3, and I think at that point, I think they had cut. I think they cut like Chauncey, and not. It was almost like the typical reverse Chauncey stat, where like every place he goes, he wins. They moved on, and then they just kind of like took off and started. Made up a ton of ground in like the AFC South.
Yeah, and dang near had a chance to win the division at the time. I think CJ Stroud's made a pretty good turnaround. Although for the Steelers, they're going to get DK Metcalf back this week. He had to serve that 2-game suspension for going after a fan.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So that's kind of what stagnated their offense the last couple of games. But I think Houston goes in and wins. I think they cover.
Yeah. So what's interesting about, I'm looking at my picks so far, and I feel like typically there's a couple like road teams that do find a way to win, and the only road team I have winning right now is the Rams. So, but I do think the Texans hold serve. I do think the Texans add to that. I just get some. So we got another second road team there. I just get some. I get some sense coming off last week that the Steelers might be a little bit in like happy to be here kind of mode, and they're coming off a super emotional win, and I almost feel like beating the Ravens last week kind of was their playoff game. To Justin's point, I think this Texans defense might be one of the more like underrated units in the league. I think, really well coached under D'Amico Ryan. So yeah, I think that's another kind of like ugly type of game that I think, the Texans, kind of win. I could see like a, like 20-14 type of drag it out score.
It is crazy because like I've told Justin before, I got a friend over here, postman that I used to work with, Julian, and he's a diehard Steelers fan all his life, and there's always times every year there seems to be where the Steelers are gonna have a losing record, and then just before the season is about to end, they find a way to get that winning record, whether it's by 1 game, 2 games, and he always says to me, they'll never, they just won't have a losing record, and I thought they were gonna have a losing record this year. I thought, because he was not looking forward to Aaron Rodgers coming to Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? He was like, oh, we're gonna need all the help we can get with him coming in after all the debacle, with the Jets. So he was dreading it, and so I'm sure Julian is like happy now at least that they've found a way to get that winning record. So it's about that time. 49ers coming to town once again for a playoff game. Wildcard weekend, they come into Philly. The last time the Eagles played them in a playoff game, we won. We took Brock Purdy out of the game early. Hassan Reddick made that sack, and he like injured Brock Purdy's arm, and he like bent it back, something like that. I remember, and he couldn't come back in the game. Then Josh Johnson had that concussion, and then they practically had to just like run the ball with McCaffrey the rest of the game. So and then obviously we know what happened in 2023. They came here for revenge. they got revenge on us. They came here, they bullied us from the get-go, coming over to the sidelines and talking all their crap, and they just, it was a disaster. And then that's what started the downfall of 2023. So I saw, like, Drew, you were like our stat guy, but you probably already know this. I'd be surprised if you don't. But Bill Colorudo from The Fanatic, he put it out yesterday on Twitter that, and I think they've talked about it on WIP this week, like John Ritchie has mentioned it a few times, I think. Jalen Hurts is 37-9 in games when running the ball 9 or more times. So when they've done that, they've been 4-1 in the playoffs, with the only loss in Super Bowl 57. And then I think there's another one where there's one playoff game losing when running the ball at least six, with only like 6 carries, and it was 2023 when they lost to the Bucks. So my thing this week is they have to run the ball against the 49ers. I do not want to see Kevin Patullo coming out there with the same old crap that they've been running all season that doesn't work. When they balance the offense, when they establish the run, when the O-line gets dominant, it opens everything up for Jalen. You can see that Jalen feels a lot more comfortable passing the ball, even running the ball himself. So that's what they need to do. That's what I think they need to do. That's what common sense tells me. So what do you guys think the offense is going to look like this week? Do you think now they're finally going to keep to what has won them games, which is like that balanced type of offense where they've been able to run the ball? The O-line's looked a little bit better. Lane Johnson is hopefully going to be back. I'd be shocked if he doesn't play in this game. I know he's still down as questionable on the injured list, so it will be a gut punch if he doesn't make it out for this game. So what do you guys think? Do you think we can run the ball on the 49ers in this game? Because we know they know that they're going to run the ball on us in this game with McCaffrey.
Go ahead, Drew. I'll let you start this one, though.
Yeah, they're good. They're good stats. I definitely expect Jalen running to be a part of the game plan. I agree with you that I would not come out and I don't think we want to see Patullo being super pass happy, but I think a big thing on my mind this game is when you do throw the ball, like Dallas Goedert. Like those Niners linebackers are really beat up there. I think it seems like it might be Michael Kendricks' brother, and then maybe Kaiser White, another former Eagle who I think has barely played this year. I don't, obviously they're not going to be familiar in terms of kind of playing with the rest of the defense and like communication there. I'll just read off a couple numbers. Like, Niners have given up 10 touchdowns to tight ends this season. Trey McBride, 10 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Kyle Pitts, 7 catches, 62 yards. Like, there are ways to, like, we remember in the Packers wildcard game last year where the Eagles offense had stalled for a little bit and Jalen started going to Goddard, and he had that really good, like, stiff arm touchdown. Know, there's, like, thoughts at times that he doesn't love throwing over the middle, but I think this is like a prime matchup to exploit tomorrow. So that's I don't expect the offense to hum like it's the NFC Championship game last year where we're going to put up 55 points. I will do something crazy in a good way if that happens, but I think they have a lot of matchups that they can exploit here.
Yeah, Jalen can throw it over the middle. We've seen him do it with a lot of success when the time comes for him to do it. He can do it. Like, I don't know why this is another example of what I've said before. When there's an exploitation on the opposite team, the Eagles don't take that opportunity to exploit that position, whether it be linebacker, injured cornerbacks, defensive lineman, where they could run the ball. They tend not to do it, but they have to do it tomorrow. If you can get it through the middle because of the linebackers, if we're running the ball on them, and do it like you said, Drew, get it to Dallas Goedert, get it to Grant Calcaterra, you know what I mean, so you can do it. So yeah, just I'll let you go now. How you feeling?
I'm gonna say this real quick. no offense to Drew, but I want to finish Drew's sentence where he was saying Dallas Goddard, Dallas Goddard, Dallas Goddard. I'm going to say Cam Latu, Cam Latu, Cam Latu as well, because when he is on the
Love it.
field and we run the ball, we run for positive yardage. Nothing against Grant Calcaterra. He's great in the pass game, but he sucks in the run game. He's an
Yeah,
atrocious run blocker. But Cam
yeah, not the
Latu
best.
is a killer when he's out there run blocking. Now I know he screwed up. I think it was last week. He done something. He got his ass ripped. But hey, that's football. It's going to happen. But when we're running the ball, I want Cam Latu out there. 85-90% of the time, because when he's out there, it's nothing but positive yardage. You're hitting holes, you're ripping runs off on the edge and everything else. I mean, yes, our tight ends should eat this game. And if we ain't featuring our tight ends in Calcaterra and Goddard for that, then yeah, Patullo's got bigger issues than we thought. Because like you said, man, it seems like we never expose a team's weakness. We go into a game knowing what a
No.
team's weakness is, and we don't go after it.
Yeah, they every team seems to do it to us, and they
Yes.
end up having success. And like you said, if Latu is blocking tomorrow and he's having success with it, then it takes blocking responsibilities away from Dallas Goddard. It keeps him healthier and fresher for this run that we're hoping to go on. You know what I mean? Because we know how good a blocker Dallas is. He's fantastic. He's aggressive, but it gets him hurt sometimes. So it weakens him then for when he's trying to run after the catch. So it's
Yeah.
it's definitely something they have to exploit tomorrow.
Well, one more thing.
Yeah, go on.
Kaiser, where they picked up Kaiser White, wasn't he just on the Cardinals a couple of weeks ago, Drew? Like they just picked him up this week.
Yeah, he was basically. I know he played for Arizona at some point over the past couple of years because I remember he picked off Dak Prescott one time, so we were all kind of happy. He is he has barely played this season. I want to say he's played like 3 games total and none for the Niners. So they have some major issues at
They
linebacker.
do, man. We have to take advantage of it, man. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Adam, but the more I think about it, the more pissed I get. Just thinking about us doing something stupid, not going after these linebackers, man.
Yeah, my biggest thing tomorrow, which is you guys know every week I'm talking to doing these using last week with the backups were playing, there was a lack of discipline. You know what I mean? Guys celebrating when they've made a catch. I think it was Tank Bigsby. I think he made that catch.
Darius Cooper got called for taunting.
Sorry, yeah, Darius Cooper. He made that really good catch, and we were, I think it was down on the 10-yard line, something like that.
Yeah.
And then after that, the McKee interception happened. Well, that would never have happened if we hadn't been called back for his stupid penalty, because lack of discipline. You've got the 2 seed on the line. So then that's another thing of where is the coaching? What is, like, I love Nick Sirianni, and he's brought us another Super Bowl. And I think, I wouldn't say I've lost faith in Sirianni, but obviously I am frustrated with what he's done, because when you look at what does he do on the offense and stuff, well, then if he isn't involved in the offense, and I think he has been a little bit more this year with Kevin Patullo, but his main responsibility is keeping this team organized, keeping them disciplined, making sure they're well coached in all different areas, and it seems to have been a lack of that this year. So I'll go to you, Drew, because I know you're a big Nick guy. How do you feel tomorrow going into this, with obviously the struggles that Nick has had this year? He hasn't been perfect. And I'm not expecting him to be perfect every single season, every single game. But there's been times this year where we've needed him to make those correct decisions, and he hasn't quite been there. And the discipline is just not there on the team. So how are you feeling about Nick managing this game tomorrow?
Yeah, the Darius Cooper stuff is honestly, in the taunting penalty, it's a really interesting butterfly effect, right? Because to be honest, if that doesn't happen, I think we win the game, and I think we're probably playing the Packers. And, so it kind of just introduces a whole world of everything that could be different. I said this past Monday on WIP, if I'm, and look, I'll get into Nick in a second. He obviously holds, his own, responsibility. He has to be on his game tomorrow. If I'm Nick, I'm going to Patullo this week, and I'm being like, dude, like Sunday, like tomorrow is the most important day of your professional life. I know you
Yep.
were on the Super Bowl staff last year, but like this is your name, your product on offense. And we know the Niners, like I don't love this Niners personnel, and but I think they do have I'll say talented coaches. We know Shanahan to struggle in game situations, but Robert Saleh, I didn't like him as a head coach, but also kind of like no one's great with the Jets. I think he's a really good defensive coordinator, and I think that's a tough chess match tomorrow where you want to stay ahead. As far as Nick and kind of like team discipline, as far as team discipline goes, I expect them to come out pretty buttoned up in terms of avoiding penalties. Obviously, you're not going to see AJ or Devontae do what Darius Cooper did. My big thing with Nick tomorrow that I would, hope to see is kind of just the mindset of every possession counts. Let's say the Eagles are, up like 10-3, with a minute left going into halftime, and you get the ball on your own 20 with, say, like 2 timeouts, like push and try to get into field goal range for Jake. Like every point counts, every possession counts. And I know, I don't think it's outside of, I don't think it's come back to bite them too many times this season outside of maybe in Dallas, but like in a game like this that I do expect to be, close to an extent, like, you can't give away possession. So if we're in a 2-minute drill before halftime, I need him to push Jalen and make sure you're getting points out of that situation.
Yeah. So obviously the defense have been like fantastic all year long, and obviously we knew at the start of the season it was going to be like another challenge for Vic Fangio because he'd lost so many key guys on defense: Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Darius Slay. So there was a lot, a big challenge for him to face again, and he did it. You know what I mean? He got them going again later in the year. BG came back. I wasn't too sure about BG, but it seems to be that presence that BG brings has helped keep this team together, for the offense as well. And obviously Jalen Phillips has been fantastic since how he traded for him. Obviously that must have been a Vic Fangio move because he played with him in Denver as well as Miami. I think it was it?
No, just Miami.
No, was it just Miami?
Yeah.
So the defense has been something we haven't had to worry about all year, but now my concern is not that they're gonna give up 50, 60 points and what have you, but my concern is if they are on the field for too long again, like they had to be last week. Even the backups last week were on the field a long time against Washington, against Buffalo the week before they were on the field a long time. If the offense can't do their job this week, and we're not asking the offense to go out there and blow the Niners out, but just have nice long enough possessions where we can put points on the board and it keeps the defense fresh, where they're on, off, you know what I mean? Because there's going to come a point where the defense is going to break. You know what I mean? It just happens, and I'm not going to be putting the blame on, unless obviously they're making really bad, like giving away penalties and stuff like that. That is like Cooper DeJean has been caught a few times this year. They seem to be calling stuff on Quinion Mitchell a lot more towards the end of the season. So that's maybe a little bit of concern. But I mean, cornerbacks are always going to lose the 50-50 battles when you're battling for the ball. They're always going to go to the wide receiver's favour, it seems. So, other than that, there isn't really any sort of concerns on the defense. Jalen Carter's looked really good since he's come back from that like double shoulder treatment that he had. So how do you both feel with the defense now going into the playoffs?
Well, something I heard, I'm not sure if it was Ross Tucker said yesterday. I was watching Wake Up Barstool, and I know Ross Tucker was on there, so I'm pretty sure I heard Ross say it. I don't know if it's yesterday or the day before, but when the Seahawks and the 49ers played last week, the Seahawks played in nickel and dime, I believe he said. I think it was 90% of the game. It didn't matter what formation, what kind of offense the 49ers put out there. The Seahawks stayed in nickel and dime, and I think we can do the same thing because if they come out there with the tight end, the fullback, 2 wide receivers, stuff like that, I think Cooper DeJean will be covering McCaffrey out of the backfield, and then you'll have
Yeah.
Bond being able to cover Kittle, and then you can put Dean on USAC. And their wide receivers ain't no great shakes. Juwan Jennings, Tennessee guy, he's tough as nails, man. He is one tough son bitch. I love that guy. But
He is a good player.
he's slow as hell. Adoree Jackson should be able to cover him and cover him well. Same thing with Quignon on Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall's coming off injury. Pearsall's, he's good young receiver, but Quignon should be able to just lock this dude down.
Yeah.
What we have to do is be able to get pressure with our line. And that's what we've been doing the last few weeks. Jalen Carter's got to get up there and eat. Jordan Davis has got to get up there and eat. Hopefully Vic goes back to spell. Like if Carter needs a blow, goes back and puts BG in at tackle, because BG at D tackle had 3 sacks in 2 games,
great.
guys. He's
Yeah.
He's lost a step as an edge, but he's quicker than a tackle, and he's just as strong as a tackle. That's why I think he flourished those last few weeks, helping out on the inside with Carter out. So I think they call it the NASCAR package. When Jim Schwartz was here, man, line Nolan and Hunt up, or excuse me, I would at this point I'd rather have Phillips and Hunt on the edges, with Nolan spelling Phillips or Hunt, but like. Put BG on the other inside spot with Carter and just go after Purdy with that front 4, man. I think our linebackers, and if they're just running USEC and McCaffrey and Kittle and 2 wide receivers, like I said, I believe they'll have Cooper watching McCaffrey, and Zach Bond, he can cover Kittle. Kittle's probably one of the best tight ends in the league, but I think Zach Bond can cover Kittle. I think this defense should really, really. I think they should do great this week because, like I said, their wide receivers are not fast. Pearsall's kind of quick, but Juwan Jennings ain't fast. They don't have Brandon Ayuk anymore. They don't have Debo Samuel. He's in Washington now, and he sucks too. But I think our defense should eat this week. They really should.
Pearsall is banged up as well. I think he was like still questionable yesterday with Trent. Trent Williams is still questionable, but I think Trent Williams is going to play. I think Kittle was a little bit banged up, but Kittle is going to play because he's a tough, fantastic player. So yeah, Drew, how are you feeling about the defense? Oh, sorry, just
something else. Something else. Drew said this week on Twitter. I'll give him praise for that, man. I will trade a healthy Lane Johnson for a healthy Trent Williams all week long. Keep that as long as we got Lane out there healthy. I'll let them have Trent Williams as long as we got Lane. I'll take that deal.
Yeah, totally. I say appreciate it, Justin. I think we're way more equipped to exploit their line with Trent Williams than they are with Lane. I do think Trent Williams plays, and to the point, I'm fine with that. Pearsall, I don't think is practiced all week. I think is a little more shaky there. It seems like Shanahan is maybe trying to play like mind games with that injury report a little bit. Here's my one concern with the defense. And overall, I feel really good. I kind of think this is almost like the type of thing where you feel so good that you start kind of like making up problems or like looking for like holes in like your theory or problems a little bit. I know we all love him. One concern of mine going into tomorrow is Nakobe fully healthy? We believe he's practiced, hopefully he is, but I can just, we know like that Niners offense, like Shanahan, he runs a ton of motion, like misdirection, like eye candy. Like if the Niners have a big play, I can see it being a world where, Shanahan finds a way to get like, McCaffrey lined up against Nakobe, and he, kind of runs like some like wheel route, down the sideline, and he, gets a step on Nakobe, and all of a sudden they have some like 40 to 50 yard play to jumpstart their offense. That would be my one concern, where I think if something with Nakobe flares up, I know Vic loves him. I think he needs to be prepared if needed to have a hook and go to jihad. Hopefully that's not the case. Would love for Nakobe to have a, healthy playoff run after what happened last year.
I know.
So that's the one that's the one thing floating through my head. But overall, I think our defense is really well set up
Yep.
for tomorrow, and I think they can have
Yeah,
I think they can have a big day in terms of just turnovers and creating havoc there.
it is.
Yep.
That's the thing. It's like it's there for us again. We have got a good opportunity to go back to back, you know, and you know, like I said last year, we're in an Eagles era of football now, which is like, you know, a golden era of football where we have to maintain, we have to break that thing of the Eagles can't maintain success, you know. After every Super Bowl, we haven't looked as sharp the following year, or we've just, you know, we just haven't been able to establish that, maintain that success. And we've got a great opportunity in front of us this year. And if Kevin Patullo and Nick, and you know, they can just figure this out and just put the right plan in place, because we have the personnel, we have the talent, it's all there for us. They just have to be disciplined and
Yep.
call what they know is going to work, exploit the weak areas of the 49ers, which is going to be the linebackers over the middle. You know, there's no reason why we can't win this game, and I think we can win this game. So yeah, I don't know what else,
One,
much else there is
one,
to yeah, go on, Just.
one more thing. When I was a big proponent of trying to get that 2 seed, I wanted the
Mm,
2 seed. I wanted the
yeah.
2 home games. And one of the things that I brought up on one of my calls to Ike, Spike, and Fritz this week was, you know, when I to be able to sit the starters, everybody had to be on board. And when I say everybody, I mean that goes for the owner, Mr. Lurie, Howie Roseman,
Mm,
and Nick Sirianni. So
yeah.
Mr. Lurie had to be on board for that to happen. But one thing that I would say, if I were Mr. Lurie, I would be very upset. And he knew there was a possibility it could happen, but I'd be very upset knowing that we could have 2 home games and not just 2 guaranteed home games. You could still have 2 home games, you know, as far as
Mm,
that goes. But to lose that's a lot of money coming out of the owner's pocket, that playoff game, those tickets, the
yeah.
concessions, and everything else. So that's one thing. But when I look at it now, and I look at our starting lineup on offense and defense, and if Lane Johnson starts and plays, you know, out of all starters on both sides of the ball, we're only going to be out one starter, and that's Andrew Makuba. So we're going
Mm,
into the offseason as healthy as anybody could possibly be, just like last year. Now, granted,
yeah.
I know Cam Jurgens has been banged up, and I told him this week when I called in, man, he had off-season back surgery. Man, I ain't an athlete, but I have back issues, and it can be debilitating some days. My dad, he's
Yeah.
70-something years old. He'll bend over to tie his shoe. His back goes out, and it's, you know, he's down for a couple, 3 days. I don't know what kind of
Yeah.
back surgery he had. So, I mean, yeah, it can be absolutely rough. So, Cam doing what he's done this season is amazing. Landon Dickerson had knee surgery during training camp. Didn't miss a you know, he missed a few practices, and then I think he may have missed 2 games this year, or came out of a couple of games, something like that. But those guys are tough. They're warriors. But now that I look at it, you know, yeah, that week off was good. These guys have the mentality, and I think, was it 23, Drew, when the Chiefs were the 3 seed and they went all the way, and then that's when they beat us in the Super Bowl when they went
Yep.
through the AFC as a 3 seed. So it can
So that
happen.
was the year. So that was the year after they beat us. But that, I think,
Okay.
has kind of been compared to like our like path and like precedent right now in terms of
Okay.
like
Yeah.
style of play.
Definitely
There
mirroring the 23
there you go.
Chiefs.
So being healthy is going to mean a lot. Like I said, hopefully Lane is good. He's been off for a month. Hopefully he is ready to go, firing off on all cylinders, and you know, just being that one starter, which is Andrew Makuba. That's great. And shout out to Marcus Epps, man. He's played his ass off. Me and Drew went back and forth. Thank God, you know, we're not going to have to worry about Sidney Dean. I hate knocking these guys; they're kids and everything, but you know, I said Sidney Dean, Sidney Brown, but you know, not having him in there, not having to worry about him flying around and hurting one of our own players again like he did McCuba. That's going to be a relief. But going into the offseason healthy or postseason healthy is going to be huge, guys. It really is.
Yeah, I was happy when they brought back Marcus Epps because he was here before. When he was here, he was an animal at that position. He was a great tackler. He played really well. I know he's given away 1 or 2 penalties here and there since he come back, but I think that's just a lack of playing time and rust. So yeah. This is a game that we can win tomorrow. They just have to do what works for them, and they know what works for them, and they just have to exploit it. And so I guess that's about all it for this week. So I messaged you yesterday. I said, brother, I need you to bring the fire, because I'm feeling confident, but I'm feeling nervous as well. But I think I'm feeling more confident than I am nervous. So I wanted to close out the show this week. So take it away.
Well, going into the postseason, I'm always nervous. I'm always kind of giddy, nervous. I don't know any way other to explain it. Looking at this 49ers team, the last time we faced them was the first time I was at the link. They came in and they just whipped our ass. A week after I left, and our season took a nosedive. I know there aren't a lot of players left from that team, and you're really not looking to build off that. But us as fans, we want to build off that. We want to crush these guys. We want to destroy these guys. And like I said earlier, I just don't think they have the horses at wide receiver or whatever to get it done against our corners. They've got a really good offense, but those guys only scored 3 points last week in a game that meant they could have had the 1 seed. They're coming to the link, to Philadelphia, to the daggone nest. They have got to come to our house. This may be the only game that we get at home in the postseason. So having that one game, we have to make it count. And what have we relied on all season long is defense. And what are some of the things that this team in past have had at defense? And that are absolute studs like this man right here. I want this team to show up like Brian Doggone Dawkins and rip some heads off and tear into the 49ers soul and take their hearts. It starts this week. It starts at the link, 4:35, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Go Birds. Thanks everyone.
Go Birds.
Love y'all, mean it.